Welcome back to One World. I'm Lynda Kinkade. Moments ago, a long-awaited meeting began with the US and French presidents after a diplomatic row. Joe Biden and Emmanuel Macron are meeting right now in Rome at the French embassy ahead of the G20 summit scheduled to kick off tomorrow. This is the first face-to-face talks between the two since the US struck a submarine deal that angered France and strained their relationship. Mr. Biden acknowledged that what the US did was, quote, clumsy. Well, let's get more from CNN's Nic Robertson. And Nic, let's start with that diplomatic spat because Mr. Biden certainly seemingly offering an apology of sorts after that botched international submarine deal with Australia.
It was really interesting. I mean, number one, they're holding this at the French embassy, which is an indication, sort of in diplomatic terms, that President Biden was willing to concede and make a gesture of going to French national territory to have this meeting. So I think that was clearly an indication that things were sort of going on a positive footing. But admitting that it was clumsy, that it was done without much grace, that really is diplomatic language for we made a mistake. Not saying sorry, but the implication is clearly there. And he also said something else. He said that he thought the French had been informed about this sometime before. So he's really speaking to sort of a miscommunication, it appears, within the White House. Emmanuel Macron, for his part, said, look, what is important now is what we do together next week, next month, and in the coming years. And of course, this position that President Biden has taken so publicly will, of course, help Emmanuel Macron, who has elections in the next couple of months. So this is going a good degree to get over what happened. I don't think Emmanuel Macron or France or the French are going to forget how the United States handled this, but this at least gets them over the sort of immediate hurdle of how do we sort of re-begin this relationship again.
You did well getting through that with those church bells going in the background, Nic. I just want to ask.
They seem to be very close.
Yes, it is a beautiful shot you've got there. I do want to ask you about what this all means for President Biden, because this is a 5-day diplomatic mission for him, his second international trip. And I just want to get your take on how the US can still lead on the world stage, given what we saw during the past administration.
I think for a lot of leaders, it feels that we are in an evolving situation where the United States' ability to lead, because it has unanimity at home over the US purpose on the global stage and its willingness to accept that central role, is now in question. It was clearly in question during the chaotic years of President Trump's office, but President Biden has been seen by many of his allies or interpreted as taking an America first steps. He doesn't have the support of the Democratic Party, clearly, the way that he wants it. That erodes his ability to operate at home, potentially paves the way for a Republican president at the next election, and already allies are confused. Well, what happens at the next election? Can a US president today sign up to global accords and stick by them? Because President Trump pulled out of the nuclear accord with Iran, with international partners, pulled out of the climate accord that President Obama rather had signed up to. So I don't think those questions are going away. I think the best that President Biden can hope for is to do what he did with France, which is to make positive noises, to try to work positively together on America's agenda in the future, and hope and find ways that the US agenda on China, which doesn't align with Europe in terms of sort of doing business with China, can find alignments and that the US can get the support that it needs. But I think President Biden has defined this as an inflection point in history, but perhaps this is not the inflection point that he thinks about. Change, as we are going through it, is not going to be rapid in terms of these diplomatic relations, but it does seem to be evolving.
Evolving, but slowly. It certainly looks like a beautiful night there in Rome. Nic Robertson, we will be speaking to you again soon. Thanks so much.